everybody, welcome back. What is the trashiest wedding you've ever been to? My friend group and I talk about this wedding to this day and probably will for the rest of our lives. The bride and groom decided to do things on a very, very small budget. That's fine. Frugal weddings and budget weddings can be beautiful and nice. There's a difference between a frugal wedding and a cheap wedding, however, and this was cheap. For instance, the wedding was in July. They decided to hold it in a non-air-conditioned park shelter. Ooh, I'm just thinking of the sweat and the running makeup and the pit stains. Ugh. The decorations were actual trash. The bride decided me and other bridesmaids needed tiny top hats, which she made from discarded styrofoam cups. Mine had ants in it. Ah! Ew. She asked me to be the maid of honor. I was flattered, but confused. She'd had 3 maid of honors before me, and they all quit for various reasons, mostly baby daddy drama related. I love some good baby daddy drama. Most of the time. She wanted live music but wouldn't pay a pianist. My friend Steven's sister said she'd play the wedding march on keyboard for $50. She said sister couldn't actually play the piano, but she did the pre-recorded wedding march song. Nobody could tell the difference because the woman in charge of baking the cake got drunk the day before and was baking the cake in the non-air-conditioned park shelter's little kitchen while listening to the radio.
Very loudly.
See, I feel like we talk about like how expensive weddings get and how you don't really need to spend all that much to have a good wedding. But do we want to put, like trash on people's heads? Do we really want to, skimp on things like a pianist? I mean, if no one could tell the difference, then what does it matter? Still though, it's all right to spend a little money on your wedding. The bride and groom tried to write their own vows, got in a fight over it, and didn't tell the officiant until the day of that there were no vows. Fortunately, he was on it and had backup vows ready to go. That's a little bit of a red flag, no? I don't think they need to be an essay, but you can't think of a few words to say to the effect of why you love your partner and want to marry them. I'm concerned. The bride hadn't tried on her dress, which she'd bought from AliExpress until the day of. Ooh, no. It was way too small and we had to rip out the back and safety pin in some satiny white fabric, which would have been great if the dress hadn't been off-white. The groom made comments and it turned out that the whole dress thing was based on his mom offering to pay for the dress, then rescinding because she had to bail out his brother. My friend, instead of going to an actual store and buying a dress, picked one off of AliExpress. Hey man, if you want to save money on your dress, by all means, go for it. Go on Wish. There's some gems on there, but you got to sift through. But make sure you have enough time to order a new dress if nothing is up to your standards, which is probably going to be the case. This would have been less weird if I hadn't been dress shopping with her 3 times because her mom couldn't/wouldn't pick out a mother of the bride dress. The groom's entire family, including his best man and his 2 groomsmen, left right after the meal. Spaghetti, green beans, and McDonald's orange drink was served. The DJ, my friend Steven, and his Bose speakers. Hey, those are pretty good sound, man. This sounds pretty good. The bass is... Steven didn't know this and tried to announce the groom's dance with his mom. Oh, his mom had left. Apparently his family was furious it was a dry venue. The only member of the family left was the ring bearer, who, it turns out, was forgotten. I mean, there would have been an excuse for that if it wasn't a dry wedding. We had to take him home because his family wouldn't come get him. Oh no. Oh, it keeps going. The groom slept through the rehearsal and showed up to the wedding drunk. Oh, I see. Okay, so he was already drunk. He pre-gamed for the wedding and had to continue going to get drunk. I see. I see what happened there. We had to put another friend on bouncer duty because 2 of the bride's aunts tried to walk away with the cash envelope. We gave him the envelope because he was the tallest and we figured he could outrun the aunts. Fair assumption. The bride's brother was originally on envelope duty, but we caught him taking a 50 out of the envelope, so we had to take it from him. Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
We had to politely inform the best man he couldn't smoke on the porta-john. You stressed out? Is this wedding stressing you out? You need a little ciggy? Inside the porta potty? We had porta-johns instead of actual working bathrooms. They're only nice at the beginning, and then they slowly, progressively start to get more and more disgusting. The worst, though, was the photographer. As maid of honor, I was informed day of that I had to keep the photographer 100 feet away from the ring bearer and flower girls at all times. He was a registered sex offender, but also the bride's uncle. And he volunteered to do the pictures for free. So he ended up using a telephoto lens because he couldn't get close enough to the wedding party to take the pictures. They divorced a couple months later after the house they were staying in burned to the ground. I have no idea to this day why they even got married. Well, you wouldn't have this story to tell everyone. At least there's that. At a park, pickup trucks with igloo coolers open on the tailgate were the bar. Everything was served in red Solo cups before the wedding. Everyone got drunk. The bride walked down the aisle drinking from a red Solo cup instead of holding a bouquet. It was essentially a tailgate party with a preacher invited. Was it fun? I mean, sounds kind of fun. Really old friend of my wife's. She hadn't seen her in years, but was invited to her wedding. The guy this chick was marrying was absolute I studied the blade levels of cringe. He was shirtless, wore black jeans, and his arms were covered in barbed wire tattoos and quotes that you find on those idiotic badass skeleton memes when they point guns at you and claim they'll f you up if you hurt anyone I care about kind of shit. All right, so Reddit sad cringe. Got it. It was quickly apparent my wife and I were the only ones in attendance that didn't live in a trailer park and practice normal human hygiene. Oh, that's fun. They were roasting what I thought was a suckling pig on a spit, but as it cooked, I noticed shit bubbling out of its ass and its stomach was swelling. Ew! Ew! I asked his best man if this was a properly slaughtered pig, and the best man proceeds to regale me with the tale of how he and the groom got shit-faced the night before, climbed into a nearby farm, stole this pig, shot it in the head, and impaled it with a long piece of rebar, which upon closer inspection was what it was turning on. Holy cannoli. Just so happens while we were discussing the groom's recent crime, the pig's stomach exploded! Blood, shit, and guts poured out in enough quantities to put out the fire. Ooh. Or probably make it explode more, to be honest. Sulfur, dangerous thing. Wife and I had already given each other the time for us to GTFO of Dodge look before this, but yeah, needless to say, we beelined for the car and left. We later found out the cops showed up and arrested the groom and his best man once the farmer they stole from realized one of his prize pigs was missing. The groom tried to fight the cops and got tased. He made it easy for them by already being shirtless.
Oh my goodness.
Side note. The flamingo hoodie is back by popular demand. This thing sold out like crazy the last time we sold it. Just in case y'all ain't petty, but you still want to support the channel and get an amazing hoodie out of it, shop.charlottedobre.net. The best man screwed the groom's mother between the meal and the dancing. The groom finds out and punches the best man, breaking his hand. The best man drives away and gets stopped by police for drunk driving. Being a wedding photographer is awesome. I mean, it can be certainly entertaining. Case in point. Did you get photos though? Camo print wedding dress that was borderline see-through. That kind of defeats the purpose, no? Walk down the aisle to the Scooby-Doo theme. Interesting choice. Nobody knows why they chose that song, including the couple themselves. They divorced a few months later after they both stopped cleaning the house in an act of defiance against one another. Yes, I'm going to punish you by making you live in our filth. But then I also have to live in the filth too. I was actually the bartender, but it was a hoot. First, wedding was outside and it stormed violently. Groom was hammered pre-wedding. Recipe for excellence. Hit on all the bartenders. Then the DJ got hammered, made lewd comments to women in the microphone. Then basically everyone was hammered, knocked over the wedding cake, which also happened to be a table with many candles. So the place caught on fire. Good times. I often wonder how that marriage worked out. You should look into it. I think there's a general theme here that if the wedding is not so classy, the couple doesn't usually last. But then again, that can't always be true. Come on. Isn't it just about your love in the first place? Who cares if there's a stolen suckling pig that still has poop in it? I mean, I never really thought of that before, but like, I guess you have to like kind of clean it out, no? Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. A wedding on the beach behind Hooters. The officiant stood next to a trash bin. Okay, so literal trash. As if it was planned, the trash collector pulled up during the vows. Did he wait to change the bag? Absolutely not. But he couldn't have just waited. No, he's doing his community service, all right. Mind you, if he had just waited, it would have been more hours for him, but Don't ask me how I know that. Children at the wedding swarmed the couple like the flies around the trash can just after the kiss, stepping all over her dress. She bent over to adjust her sandal and a pack of Marlboro Reds fell out of the bust along with her right breast. It felt like we were rubbernecking instead of witnessing a marriage. I feel like we could make a TV show out of this. The bride and her sisters did a striptease/lap dance on the groom immediately following dinner in front of his grandmother. Okay, wait. Sisters. Blood-related sisters? Where was this wedding could you give a little more context? I'm curious. Was it Alabama? Sweet home Alabama, where the sisters are for game. Sorry if you're from Alabama. Come on now. It's all right. It's all right. We love you, even though you love your sisters. Moving on. I'm a wedding videographer, so I've seen some things, and not while necessarily trashy, one moment from a 2018 wedding stands out. Bride's dad gets up for his speech, where a 30-minute long speech plays out recounting embarrassing memories of the bride and being generally unathletic, taking soccer balls to the face, etc. Truly cringe-inducing, and the bride was very uncomfortable. He then tells the audience a story of how he used to travel for work, and at the time the bride was obsessed with Disney, Pirates of the Caribbean, and would often make up her own Disney characters, one being a French-speaking bird. She would make personalized cards with poorly drawn Jack Sparrow and French bird characters and send them to various locations when he was away traveling for work. Cute story, but entirely inappropriate and far too long for a wedding speech. Finally, he raises a glass for the conclusion of his speech, thank God. Thank the Lord! In Jesus' name, amen. Then suddenly, two D-list local actors from the local theater troupe come out from behind the back door of the venue, dressed as, you guessed it, Jack Sparrow and a woman in a French hat with wings, our French bird character from earlier. They had come to the wedding to deliver a card, but what plays out is a terribly acted story of how Jack Sparrow had gotten drunk on his journey to the venue. Their ship had run aground, and he ditched the French bird lady who's yelling in French. No one understands what she's saying. The bride is mortified, and the groom is mouthing to the bride's mom to get dad off stage. This back and forth between Jack Sparrow and the French bird goes on for about 10 minutes, with the dad as jovial in-between mediator, thinking he's crushing this speech the whole time. Oh God, it's always so awkward when they think it's like absolutely nailing it. At least be a little self-aware to know that it's bad. Finally, Jack Sparrow unfurls the card for the bride and groom, which is a giant poster with a picture of the B&G saying something along the lines of best wishes. Everyone was stunned, and both the bride and groom were so upset. The father-daughter dance afterwards was very uncomfortable. I got a video of the entire thing. Show us. I demand it. At least it was fun for you. I don't even know where to begin. Ceremony was comprised of immediate family, then followed by a reception with all guests in a relatively nice hotel banquet hall. An hour in at 7 p.m., the open bar was completely closed down because multiple guests were throwing up in the bathroom sinks, causing flooding. Whoa. The groom was so wasted even before the ceremony, but was blackout by the time of reception. During the first dance, he kept his hands in his cargo pant khakis. Oh, it's the cargo pants for me. The entire time, and ate dinner sitting on the floor in a corner of the hall while the bride sat at the head table alone. About 2 hours in, the groom randomly left and slept at their house while the bride stayed in the newlywed suite by herself. They are now separated, as you may have assumed by this point. Yeah, I think it's a general rule of thumb that if your wedding is horrible and just trashy, the marriage itself is on thin ice. A friend's wedding, she was walking down the aisle and had to pause to put out a cigarette. She just really needed one, guys. Stressful. It was a small wedding and her friends thought it was hilarious. Married less than 2 years. She married him because he was in the military and she thought she was getting cash for life. He chose deployment to a war zone over staying with her. Oh, dang. A wedding where they had a flag that said, I had my wedding on Friday because Saturdays are for the boys. That really happened. Look at that. There's photo evidence. You keep your Saturdays, honeys, and maybe the rest of your life too. With that attitude, every day of the week is gonna be for the boys, if you know what I'm saying. Those were some of the trashiest weddings people had ever been to. Definitely tell me in the comments when you've been doing a trashy wedding, and I'd love to read it and listen to it and subscribe.